Let me know, let us know, what does trauma mean to you?
Trauma is trauma is really just a deeply disturbing and distressing event, and I think that we get trauma and traumatic stress very confused.
You allow a word to apply to everybody. It's like every single word right now, you a man, you a man, you a woman, you a woman, you a woman, right? If I could use one term and said human, 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 yeah, it would apply, but it doesn't show the differences.
Right.
We are different.
Right.
So different words have different meanings.
Can't expect other people to heal you, especially when they aren't properly qualified to heal.
Yeah.
You know, that's why we have therapists. That's why we can outsource these projects, but not using our friends.
Personal information. And she was ready to come in and fix it. I said, wait. This conversation ain't for you to give me advice. I just want you to listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just listen. I've already sourced it. I've already figured it out. But I just wanted you to listen to it.
Aren't taking the time to step back and be like, I'm stronger than this event that happened to me for me to push through and be better. Like how you said you did better, a lot of people don't know themselves, a lot of people don't know their strengths, a lot of people don't know their weaknesses.
Right? When I heard her breakdown, crying and saying, where did I go wrong at? I'm like, damn, cause that's me hurt me, but that's that connection to your mother. So anything I do to me is gonna hurt her.
Welcome everyone to Place in Perspective. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming back to watch the episode. In recognition of Mental Health Awareness Month, we're gonna be focusing on mental health and trauma experiences, etc. So in recognition of Mental Health Awareness Month, thank you for all of our counselors, therapists that's out there doing the work with the people, making sure healing coming through. As always, thank you for tuning in. My name is Tone. I'll be representing the 90s generation today.
My name is Devin. I'll be representing the 90s as well.
My name is Aliana. I'm representing Gen Z.
My name is Ayana. I'm representing the 90s.
My name is Bridget. I'm representing the 70s.
My name is Rashad. I'm representing the Gen Z.
All right. As you can see, multiple people at the table, so we can really dive and dissect in. As we get going, really, the first question to open it up, we hear this word trauma a lot used in social media a lot. Everything trauma, trauma, trauma. It's a popular term in today's society. So I just want everybody to kind of like take a moment and let me know, let us know, what does trauma mean to you?
I started off. Trauma is something that is significant. It's something that's an event or experience that really has a big impact. And like, there's no denying it. I think sometimes that word, like through social media, through society, it gets wide brushed and it gets stroked as every single incident and every single thing. Me personally, I don't identify of using it like that. I think it's something that anybody would observe and be able to say, like, I can recognize this happening to you and I can see, kind of the ramifications from that. So I think it's something that has its place. And through this conversation, I kind of want to put it more so within its place, within its field of play.
If you ask me, trauma is something that's is a moment in your lifetime that's undeniably painful. You can't deny that it, like you said, has large ramifications on your life. It could kind of shape your personality or maybe your character traits, your habits, things like that. That's what trauma is to me.
Trauma for me is a cause and effect. I think it can affect you emotionally, mentally. It depends on how you receive the trauma. It could be something so traumatic that it does change the scope of your life in a good way or in a bad way, but it shapes you into being the person that you are when you go back into, your history of what your trauma was. That's what it means.
For me, it's more so like a negative reaction to something that happened to you when you were younger and now you're older, and so it happened again and you're not reacting in a positive way to the situation.
To me, trauma is really just a deeply disturbing and distressing event, and anything can be traumatic to any, because the way our brains process things is different. So, I mean, some people, they turtle dying can be traumatic to them. And I think it's interesting the way that we process trauma in different ways, because what's traumatic to somebody is not traumatic to the next person. But yeah, just something that's deeply disturbing and distressing to you, you know.
I agree with all of those. It's hard to echo those because I'm in agreement. So anything that happened to you, like you mentioned, whether it was childhood, teenage, and or your adult life, right? That impacted you so bad that it's now embedded into your character traits and your behavior and how you deal with everyday functionalities in life. So, you know, with this word being so mainstream now and everyone's using it in every which way, why do we think trauma, the word itself, is so popular now?
I think I like to blame that 2016 era of rappers like Lil Peep and XXX, Tentacion, and all them people who really profited off of anxiety, music, trauma, rap, you know, things like that. Because I seen people that I grew up with all of a sudden entire personality change, whether I knew what was going on in the household or not. But of course, the common denominator was that they were fans of these people. Now, I ain't saying that that's for everybody, but that's how I saw it.
Yeah. I think it's literally, it became popular. It became the person who never had attention, and now for whatever reason, they got attention, and now I want everybody to see me. I think that word has been used as, I would say, a coping mechanism. I would say that. I would say as a deflection from certain things. I would say when you don't understand the medical definition, right? It's, if you go in the DSM-5, it's traumatic events are defined, right? So if you don't fit these qualifications, you shouldn't be using that word. You should say, you know, I had a hard time, hard day, hard event, or what we love saying socially, life happened. Absolutely. I think that's what you should be using instead of that. But because that word has become popular and it almost gives you a reason and an excuse for whatever's happening, then so it is.
Absolutely. Just to add to his point, I think that we get trauma and traumatic stress very confused. A lot of us have experienced trauma, but not everybody goes through traumatic stress. Trauma is something that, like I said, deeply disturbing that happens to you. Traumatic stress is when there are certain ramifications that happen afterwards. People have trauma, not everybody has traumatic stress. And I think that also trauma is because people use it seriously, it's such a trigger word. So we don't necessarily, don't always know how to articulate what we're trying to say or the severity of what we're trying to say. So we use the word that fits or we think is going to get the most attention or the most, you know, but not everything is traumatic stress, right? So that's just my take on it. So
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think I saw it become popular in like 2020 when all of the social injustice was going on, because people riding police out there, things. So people was going through those events, right? Traumatic stress from that situation or traumatic that they actually experienced in that situation. So that's when I kind of like seen it become super popular at that time because of all of those things, whether you was in school or in your workplace. A lot of acceptance around mental health became a lot more prominent. And again, we're gonna dissect it a lot more throughout, but that's what, so in accordance with the rappers, I say also like a lot of the social injustice that was going on and actually the workplace and school environments respecting the events that people was experiencing and how they was feeling now being to the forefront of acknowledgement. That's when that word started to be thrown around super loosely. So that's when it became like mainstream in my life.
For me, it's hard. I'm sorry. For me, it's hard to say trauma because in my era, trauma, we surfaced. We were like, get over it, move on. You know, like that's just life. So we didn't acknowledge the word trauma as much, and we didn't use it. It wasn't until recently when I hear it now in today's society, trauma bonding. What is that? What are we talking about here? But in my era, we surfaced it. We put it under. We didn't do any therapy or anything like that to get over that. So it was surfaced. We didn't even talk about it. Get over it as a kid. What happened to you? Oh, you're going to be all right. That's how we dealt with it.
Suck it up.
Yeah, suck it up.
To piggyback off of her, I think it's popular now because, like you said, in your era, they didn't like express trauma, and then they brought it onto us, and we wasn't able to express trauma, and then now that we're older and we're able to express ourselves, we're saying that these events that happened to us was traumatizing.
No, understood. Whew. Yeah, I can feel it already. It's about to get deep diving. And you brought up a great point, madam. When you said, like, back in your era, right? It was like, it's life. Get over it, right? So one of the questions is, like, have we weakened ourselves by labeling everything trauma, or is it just life, or was it trauma?
I'm gonna be the first to say.
Go ahead.
I think the conversation is in society, is so focused on trauma that it's okay. Well, now that we've established or acknowledged trauma, what happens after that?
Absolutely.
Because everybody goes through trauma at some point, but we're so focused on the event. It's not, well, what happens after the event? Because you can have trauma, but it's on you to fix your trauma. It's on you to heal. And so there's rarely conversations about afterwards. Okay, well, now that you know this has been traumatizing, what are you going to do to heal yourself, to not let trauma responses navigate how you interact with other people or life? So I just think that when we're talking about trauma in society, we got to address the other part, the aftermath, the how do we heal?
Yep. So you think people weaken themselves by just focusing on the event and not focusing on post-event?
Exactly.
That's the drama aspect. That's a saying that, we probably won't label this trauma versus drama. I think when you're not able to properly heal, to properly do the work, it becomes drama, because oftentimes your traumatic experiences, you sometimes give to others secondhand, right? Sometimes you're in a relationship with other people. That's life. You're going to have people you care about, people around. And if you're not a man of your own shit, it can spill out into other people. And to answer the original question, though, I think that trauma, right? I always look at things from a multitude of ways. So I look at it physically, I'm gonna look at it socially, historically, whatever. And I always think about this. When you have a traumatic injury physically, you go to the trauma unit. Again, by definition, it has to be a life-threatening or limb-threatening type activity. So you have this definition. I can't go to the trauma unit for a paper cut. They will tell me, get out of there. And I think when you allow something to become so subjective, when this is a time where people don't know definitions, when this is a time where people feel like they so special and nothing that happens to me happens to anybody else, and you give them that power using that word, you create a dangerous society. That's when you get to times now of, well, I'm depressed, I'm X, Y, Z, leave me alone. But also, depression's at an all-time high because more people are now getting diagnosed. Put that into there. More people are going to therapy. So more people are getting these quote-unquote diagnoses that people in the past went through the same thing you went through, and they managed it, and they got through it, and they came out better on the other side. So I'm inclined to say, overall, it's life, but I have space for the people that really do go through trauma. That definition really does fit them. But for the popular conversation, I think it's just life.
Yeah. I think people do use that word loosely as a crutch for people to feel for them when they're in a weak moment. And I think people use that word, like you said, it's so popular now, so that way when they're weak, they have some comfortability, and for people to comfort them in a way. But post steps is where, like, you can't be weakened in the process, because that's going to take strength. And I'm not saying you can't be weak while you go through your process, because a wise woman once told me, everybody falls down and grow weak, but it's about where you get up and get your strength back, right? So for me, as we all know, especially my co-host, my strength comes from the Lord. That's non-negotiable, right? So yes, it is life, and it might have been traumatic to me, and I might have been weak in the moment, but I'm not going to allow that moment to drag this weakness out so I can keep getting all this attention, right? Because we said that the word is also being used so that way people can get attention. So I do think that it weakens us, but only for a moment. It's just about where we find our strength at post the event to get us back going to function throughout life.
Absolutely. I do think there could be good in acknowledging trauma, though, because, for example, there were I grew up in the hood. There were a lot of things that culturally are very traumatizing. But I think acknowledging it, that, like I said, shouldn't just be okay, well, I'm acknowledging it and now what? But I do think that acknowledging that trauma, certain things are traumatizing, brings awareness to certain habits that have to be changed, right? So when I'll take men, for example, right? I feel for y'all because society doesn't create a whole lot of space for you guys to be vulnerable. And it is the suck it up, man up, get it together. And men carry a lot of weight, it's the protector to provider. You're thinking about all this stuff, right? When that isn't nurtured, when, you guys aren't allowed to feel, when you guys are told, okay, this big thing happened, okay, well, you got to keep going. That in itself can be traumatic because it teaches you it's not safe for me to feel. It's not safe for me to be vulnerable, right? I think that acknowledging that that's traumatic does create a space for us to say, well, how do we stop perpetuating trauma? But once again, it's now that we acknowledge it, what are we doing about it? It's a lot of acknowledging and not a lot of action when it comes to trauma. And I think that's my biggest problem.
So I like with the action thing, I think what Dave said, so when we don't create we don't have a safe plan in place to get our actions aligned for us to move in a healthy way, that's where that drama comes in at. Because now we taking what happened to us and all that built up animosity,
Right.
built up anger, frustration, we taking that into relationships, friendships, and it's creating drama because you didn't properly heal. So is it safe to say, like, Dev, that's where a lot of that drama come in play at, from like the experience they felt and like they're passing it down on the next person?
Absolutely. I would say even the whole topic of mental health, right? And I know I'm playing semantics right now, but when majority of the time we talk about mental health, we're talking about mental sickness. You're not talking about you being in a healthy state. You're not talking about ideally. You're not talking about the remedies and methods of what like a quote unquote normally functioning person operates as. You're talking about somebody that is expressing sickness or expressing something that's kind of off cue. So even with that being said, when the norm has become so much that these unhealthy ways, it is no separation between trauma and drama. Because the moment I say that's drama, you tell me I can't tell you what's traumatic. The moment I offer course correction, red flag, you can't step over there. But at the same time, you can step over here and impact me.
Yeah.
That's not a fair relationship. That's not reciprocity. So hands off for you, or you can be hands on with me. And now I'm not the type of person that's able to input and compartmentalize and break this, whatever you're giving me, down to a healthy manner. If I don't have outlets, if I don't know what a vagus nerve stimulation is, if I don't know the right breath work, if I don't have these things in place now, I become the drama. And so it is and continues. That's when you get that family to family cycle. That's when you get that relationship to relationship cycle. That's when you get that unhealthy workplace environment. And that's when overall the stress becomes you, and you become the stress. The mind and the body become each other, and you get in that cycle of, I hate life. This can't be life.
Yeah.
So.
And I want to like touch, because I think it's very important. Like you said back in the day, right? Suck it up, man up. You'll get over it. Did you see a shift in like today's time of, thank you, Chef. Have you seen a shift in like today's time?
Thank you.
With teens and young adults growing up? And I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, suck it up, right? Get over it. And then they got over it and they still was able to function and they made something of themselves, whether they turned out to be healthy or whether they turned out to be bad. And you take it now where we got all these resources available, right? Therapists, guidance counselors, etc., for our youth and young adults and older adults, right, to go to. Do you think like the mental strength levels between the eras have changed?
No, I don't. What I do think, though, is that your generations have a great space to now be able to consult, get therapy, have people to talk to, understand mental health. We didn't understand mental health in my generation. We thought she's crazy, you know, and she could be, we didn't have a diagnosis, right? We didn't know it was bipolar schizophrenia or, you know, we didn't know the different types of levels of mental health that we were dealing with in my generation. And so now in this space, you guys have a lot of resources to talk to, deal with, and handle. But there's a generational curse there, because sometimes we have a generational curse. My trauma may have been passed on to my children's trauma. My children's trauma now has my trauma, and now they're dealing with the trauma. And so now they haven't, you know, handled what I'm putting on them growing into this space. So they're like, oh my God, this is so traumatic. Now their trauma has gone into drama.
Yeah.
And they've taken it to their relationships, where I'm still sitting back watching them unfold because I'm already unhinged.
Wow.
You know, and I haven't even sat down and, you know, got myself together in order to make sure that they're together. And the generation goes on and on. So have we? No, in my generation, no. Again, we didn't handle it in a better perspective. I dealt with trauma that never got sourced out, but I didn't allow it to affect my full life cycle. I wanted to make sure that my children never understood or saw it, that they did better.
Understood. So what you saying, like the switch of so many resources being available versus, you know, the resources that wasn't for you all, is it safe to say, like, are you happy to see some of these resources for the younger generation to properly, you know, deal with things such as schizophrenia, bipolar, or seeing a traumatic event that really put a stomp on their life versus kind of like trying to have the tough mental fortitude? Because also it's a difference from telling a 17-year-old kid in today's time to suck it up. Right? When they go to social media and here, go to therapy, do this, because it's accepting now, which it should be, right? I'm a total advocate for mental health, by the way. Like, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm a big advocate for it. I believe in it thoroughly. So is it safe to say that you appreciate now the resources that is available?
Absolutely. But as a parent, though, you have to be able to guide your children and say, if they come to you and say, I really need help, I really need that help, and not go, oh man, you tripping, I don't want to hear that shit, you know. No, at this time, era, is the time to say, hey, let's sit down and talk about it. Do you need to see a therapist? Is there something that we need to talk about as far as medication? What is it that I can do as a parent now to help you out? And I do think, I'm glad that there are a lot of resources out here that our kids, our children can talk to and sort out their problems. No matter what the length of the problem is, no matter what it is, I want my children to be able to say, Mom, I just need help. I need to talk to somebody. And I'm going to back you up and say, let's do it, you know, instead of saying, suck it up like I was told as a kid.
No, understood. No, I was just going to see from your perspective, right? Early 2000s, mid 2000s, and with this word being so popular, but also everything that you all are experiencing, you know, from your standpoint and your age limit, how you are handling the pressures of the word trauma, mental health at the forefront of almost everything, because we have now in society made 98% of everything we go through related back to mental health or related back to trauma in some aspect. Like, how are you all dealing with that, or what's some of the things you doing, you know, to protect your mental health?
Well, I wouldn't say that, like, I've been traumatized, if that makes sense, to the point where I need therapy or anything like that. But, like, if I'm talking to someone, well, majority of my friends that I talk to, they're taking therapy. But that's where I say, how y'all saying people are being dramatic or it's just life. I think it has a lot to do with the person itself, because if I'm asking someone, you know, like, why are you traumatized? It's something, I'm not going to say something dumb, but it's not something like, basically, like I'm trying to say, everyone can be traumatized by something different. So like you said earlier, just because it's traumatic for you doesn't mean that it's traumatic for me,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Right.
It does.
Right.
So just being more supportive.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's appropriate in today's time because
Absolutely.
Miss Ayana brought up the point, and I'm gonna let Dave go ahead and dive in. Like Miss Ayana brought up the point of, I'm gonna use men, right? Because
Sure.
you use that example. We don't feel comfortable, right? Or we don't feel safe. So to have a friend like you, right, to know that it's not traumatic to me, but it's traumatic to you, and I see you going to therapy, and I'm in supportance of that.
Right.
It may not happen to me, but I'm with you, right? So, and absolutely a blessing to you that you haven't experienced anything such as. So that's something to be proud of as well. So don't let nobody take that, oh, you don't understand because you didn't been through nothing, because they'll try to say that to you too, right?
Absolutely.
So that I'm telling you that's something to be proud
I'm
of.
not going to say I haven't been.
It ain't that.
Sorry. go
Yeah.
ahead.
My bad, I jumped the gun. I was gonna say, cause I know her,
Yeah.
and it ain't that she ain't been through it. She just saying she don't identify in the same way.
Yeah.
Like, so I think kind of what everybody's saying. And what I say, it is so subjective, right? That again, when you allow a word to apply to everybody, it's like every single word right now. You a man, you a man, you a woman, you a woman, you a woman, right? If I could use one term and said human, yeah, it would apply, but it doesn't show the differences.
Right.
We are different.
Right.
So different words have different meanings. And what I was going to ask, I was actually going to go where you was going, I was going to ask those two, being that they are younger, is the conversation trauma still like taboo? Is it socially acceptable amongst your friends, or do you still be like, that's not traumatic? And then I was going to ask you to follow up with your practice. Like what I don't know how long you've been in there, but
About 5 years.
okay. Well, do you see an influx of certain things? Where do you see it heading for people who are younger like them?
Well, was he going to answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so how I view it is everybody's mental capacity isn't the same. You know, mental state is case by case.
Yeah.
So to y'all point where it may be traumatic to you, but not traumatic to me, 100% true. I'm in 100% agreement with that. But I look at trauma as like, if you're able to identify it, it's like when you play sports, you know, you're the coach.
All right.
Your trauma is your weak point in the defense. All right, now you're trying to fix those holes in this defense.
All right.
You know, you gotta realize the problem to properly execute and be able to fix the problem. So in my generation, in my peers, everybody has trauma, whether it's in my generation or not. Everybody could talk about something. But I don't see a lot of solutions amongst my peers, at least, where, okay, you recognize it, you understand it, but what you doing about it? Because you pushing it on the people. I see how you doing it with your girlfriends or your boyfriends. You know, you ain't right. So you should get yourself together before moving forward with your life in general. You know, that's just in my...
Repeat your question. I want to make sure I answer it correctly.
I was going to say, so I don't know your demographic or your clients either, but being as though you actually in the field, where do you see the conversation heading? It's still heading down this hole of like, we learn the word trauma and I'm taking it in and now, you know, the world is up in flames with this word? Or do you see it like, okay, it's a path where now we're having a full roundabout conversation and everybody's understanding the trauma, healing, and so forth and so forth?
It's tricky because it really depends on, it's person by person. There are a lot of people who, if I'm being real, there are a lot of people who are ready to acknowledge trauma, but are not really ready to acknowledge behavior. So when we're talking about trauma, people also have to understand that trauma affects behavior. And so discussing trauma acknowledging trauma, getting help for it is hopefully where everything continues to go. But there was something that I wanted to speak on, and it was when you guys were talking about what's traumatic for somebody is not traumatic for the next person. In mental health in general, I think that we try to stigmatize everybody, right? Like try to apply everything to everybody. And we approach people with like this cookie cutter type situation. One of the biggest words that was coming to mind is trigger. When people say, I'm triggered, I'm triggered, I'm triggered, I'm triggered. There's a way to explain this is affecting me. What you're doing is affecting me. Or this certain things are affecting me without you projecting. We project a lot. Oh, I went through this, so you must feel this way because you went through the same. No, I don't feel the same way, right? I think we have to we don't focus on learning people as individuals. We're distracted by the world. We're distracted by everything going on around us. If we took the time to just learn people individually, and people learn themselves individually, right? You got to know what makes you tick. You got to know what gets you to a certain point, and you got to know or do the work to help you de-escalate yourself, to help you regulate yourself. We place the responsibility for people to heal us, or for people to, for people to do the work for us. We have to do the work for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We expect people to heal us.
Yeah.
That's deep. Because it is our responsibility, right? And I think we all talked about that earlier. Like, it's our responsibility to fix our situations and, to kind of like piggyback. That's when you were saying like you feel like you didn't go through nothing that's traumatic. But I was saying is like, that's good to you, right? Because you still in a mental space. Like she said, it doesn't affect you a certain way because you know what affects you and you know your behaviors, right? And like she said, a part of some of that trauma or traumatic events, you got to know how to navigate your behaviors and your characteristics. I'll be honest, man, I sucked at managing my emotions.
A lot of us do.
I suck. Well, I did suck at managing my emotions, and it was based upon a lot of things that was happening to me. But I had to learn, and I had to be responsible for the consequences that came from those actions based upon my emotions. So when we talking about this, like, a question is like, can you acknowledge trauma and still be held accountable? And the reason I said what I just said was because a lot of my trauma, and I'm gonna use the word trauma because I had a lot of traumatic events to me. And I ain't gonna sit here and just say that shit ain't life. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do believe God ordained beginning and an end, but a lot of that came from my emotions. I was triggered. And I put actions out there that caused certain consequences. And now I'm dealing with this state. And now it caused me to be in this mental capacity of space. Because of my actions, I got to deal with this. I got to deal with that. I got to deal with that. So can I acknowledge it was traumatic to me? Absolutely. But am I going to hold myself accountable for it? And that's where some of that dissect come in. So, can we experience trauma and still be held accountable for our part in it? Because part of it, everything ain't just happened to you because of someone else. And in some situations, absolutely.
Right.
In some situations, absolutely, right? Because we got to be very careful, like she said, not to project.
Right.
But at least in the situations you played the part that caused traumatic events, despite it being traumatic event, can we still hold ourselves accountable for our actions?
For sure. And I think, and generally that separation is childhood trauma. A lot of times that's when the victimhood is 100% legitimate.
Yeah.
That's when you are vulnerable. That's when you are weakened. That's when you had kind of the will of an oppressor if you had one. But a lot of the conversations that or events that happen in your adulthood, when it takes two to tango, let's not act like it's the other person every single time.
Yeah.
Let's not act like you had no role in this, because the moment you turn that light or that mirror or anything from yourself, you're not doing any work.
Right.
If I'm in a relationship with somebody, right, and I say this relationship was traumatic, now I go on a quote unquote healing journey like everybody loves saying, right? And then I say at the end of that, I'm healed and I'm ready again. Well, I feel like that's almost like a false positive or a false idea, because that what you experienced was two people. You experienced that trauma, you dealing with somebody else. So you should be back in that same environment before you think or come out your mouth to say I'm healed. You didn't hurt yourself when you was by yourself. You hurt somebody else and they hurt you. So you have to acknowledge you're doing and anything that you got going on. And also with your acknowledgement, right, I feel like it, again, I love looking at things from multiple ways, right? So if you think about the body, if I get a cut right now, my body will naturally attempt to heal this cut. It's going to send white blood cells, your T cells, your protein. It's going to scab it up, right? But it has to be done in such a balance that if it oversends these molecules in these cells, it's going to create scar tissue that ain't wanted. It can create a keloid. That keloid can turn cancerous. It's a fine balance in certain things. So your trauma, acknowledge it, deal with it, prioritize it, make it the most important thing to you, and know that this don't define your whole life. Acknowledge it, and I'm gonna say the word, get over it. Step over whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I think on top of us holding ourselves accountable, we have to hold people close to us accountable. For example, like if you're in a relationship with someone and they're like projecting you cheating on them because their last relationship cheated on them, so then now they're always nasty towards you, or you're cheating, but I'm not cheating, you're just traumatized by something, so then now you keep doing this thing to me. Now I have to hold you accountable about what you're doing to me for something that happened to you in your past that I wasn't there for.
Absolutely.
I agree.
To her point, we bleed on people
Yeah.
a lot. Whenever I talk about trauma with my clients, I describe it as a lot of times what we think is the trauma is not the real trauma.
It's not.
For example, let's take abandonment, because a lot of people experience abandonment. So I describe trauma as there's the event, there's the blueprints or the footprints, then there's the aftermath. The event is what took place. The footprints are the behaviors and beliefs that came out of that event. And then the aftermath is how the event shows up in you today.
Yeah.
So I was abandoned. The footprints are, okay, now I question my self-worth. Now I have self-esteem issues. I have rejection issues. Now I don't trust people. Now I think everybody's going to leave me. And now the aftermath of that is I don't trust nobody. Every time I get into a relationship, I feel like they're going to leave me. So I start doing behaviors that either self-sabotage or I get too clingy, and we start saying, oh, certain things are, the relationship is traumatic, or certain things are traumatic, or people are, doing certain things to us. But we have, everything that we see is based on our perspective. Our perspective is based on what we experience. We have to realize sometimes we're not experiencing great things.
Yeah.
People say, the sky is the limit. You're limited to what you're exposed to. And if you're not exposed to healthiness, if you're not exposed to functionality, and if you're not exposed to good things, positive things, a lot of times you're not going to have that perspective. And so to her point, just because I can't fault you for being traumatized, but I don't have to let you bleed on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question about that. What does that look like? If somebody's coming from a damaged situation and they run into somebody that is willing to be their healer, has the capacity to be their healer, is this person who comes from functionality or whatever. Practically, when those two forces meet, what does that look like? And then would you say that you still have to come into like almost an agreement, that's a term, that this person that is this healer, you're going to have to take on a certain load in order to kind of guide this person out? Would you agree with that?
I agree with it, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like if you're not in a place where you even know where your trauma's coming from, if
Same
you're
way.
not in a place where you even know why you're behaving the way you behave, I don't think it's a good idea for you to be with somebody who's in a healthy space, because you can be with somebody who's healthy and not see them as healthy if you're not in a good space.
That part.
the perspective has to be. I've seen people be with great people, and they didn't see them as great people because they weren't in a great space.
Yeah.
Themselves, absolutely.
So it all comes down to the person, and if the person is not actively trying to fix themselves or work on themselves, then you're going to end up bleeding on everybody who's trying to help you. You will end up drowning the person who's trying to save you with a lifeboat.
Yeah.
You'll end up poking a hole in the boat
Yeah. Yeah.
because you think that they're trying to, things are sketchy. This person trying to kidnap me. We're trying to save you.
All I want to do is heal.
Right. And you will end up destroying yourself sometimes being with somebody who is not in a space where they're ready to acknowledge they need some work.
Yeah.
And they have to be ready to work
Right.
on themselves before you can't be a healer.
Right.
I can't heal you.
Direct them.
I can't even make you happy.
Right.
If you're not in a space to be vulnerable enough to take care of yourself. So I can't even make you happy. That's not my job. My job is not here to heal you.
Say it again.
My job is not here to heal you.
Yeah.
I will, because that's the truth. If you have all of these abandonments, all of these traumatic situations, I'm never going to be that person. I will be the person to support you through it, but I can't heal you and I can't make you happy.
Direct them to some resources.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me give you this guy.
Let me give you this card.
That's all you got.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you think like a lot of friendships, and we could take it out of relationship terms too, because a lot of friendships get damaged too.
Yes.
Based upon traumatic events and, projecting. And I think what you said was so like beautiful, especially for you to be so young. You gotta hold these folks accountable.
Yep.
You once you become aware of certain behaviors and situations and be exposed to them, it is up to you for what you accept, right? So holding people accountable, that's big, right? And I really just wanted to take a moment and give you kudos for that, to be so young and knowing that this ain't happened to me, but I ain't about to let you bleed out on me, right? Because you gotta protect your peace, you gotta protect your mental health. So big kudos to you. So and kind of like what you said, it's not our job to heal a person, right?
It's not.
Do you think a lot of friendships and relationships is failing because we're now becoming codependent
Yes.
upon people to fix things that we have to fix ourselves? And when I say ourselves, whether that's religious, you believe in God and you going that route, or whether that's therapy, or whether that's isolate, like whatever it looks like to you, do you think some of these relationships are failing due to codependency, trying to fill voids with trauma?
100%. I say this because when it comes to the friendship aspect, at least, a lot of people try to use their friends as therapists for these trauma, and this is where you get the trauma bonding out of it. But if two legless ducks try to walk, who walking? You know what I'm saying? It's just two light bulbs is not on. You know what I'm saying?
No, for real.
So
Blind leading the blind.
the blind leading the blind. So it's no real healing done. There's no real help. You calling Pookie and them, asking, man, guess what Shorty did today? Bro, he ain't got no work for you. He ain't got no help for you. Because he don't know what he doing either. He got 3-4 baby mothers too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all both look crazy. But yeah, you really can't expect other people to heal you, especially when they aren't properly qualified to heal.
Yeah.
That's why we have therapists. That's why we have, we can outsource these projects, but not using our friends. Also, there's people who try to put their friends into higher relationships in their lives and try to treat them like a girlfriend or a boyfriend or things like that. And it's like, hold on, Slim.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This ain't that.
Yeah.
I don't gotta be at all your functions. I don't gotta come to every birthday. I don't have to, come help you when you need you all the time. Because we adults. I got things going on too. That's just how I see it.
And I also think too, some people in relationships and friendships think that they are the healer, or they can heal you. Let me fix you.
Yeah.
If you're broken, I'm gonna try to fix you. And you can't do it. It's funny, I had a conversation with my closest friend just yesterday, giving her some information, personal information, and she was ready to come in and fix it. I said, wait. This conversation ain't for you to give me advice. I just wanted you to listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just listen. I've already sourced it. I've already figured it out. but I just wanted you to listen to it. Maybe some feedback will be okay, but don't advise.
Yeah.
I don't need the advice. Don't try to fix
Don't
it.
need to be saved.
Don't even say it. Sometimes we got to know our place when we are in those friendships and understand, I don't need a fixer. Let me go ahead and fix. It's not traumatic because we're not in a
Right.
situation. I don't need a fixer. I just want you to listen.
Right.
And sometimes we got to know our space when we're in those relationships. Because you do. If I have somebody that's been in a serious traumatic situation, first thing I'm going to say is, you might need therapy. Oh, I don't need no therapy. Then I can't help you.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can build off of this. I cannot go any further if this is what we keep running into, honestly. So,
Yeah, so 2 ducks.
Two
with
ducks.
legs.
with no legs,
Ducks,
you know,
no
trying to get to the
legs.
pond.
Yeah.
Not gonna
Yeah,
help.
that was really a good analogy right there. But I think that's why a lot of relationships fail, you know, because like you said, we putting people on certain pedestals versus holding them accountable. Like, hey, you know,
Boundaries.
correct. Like giving them a boundary limit, but also people don't even know what boundaries are.
Sure don't.
People truly don't know what boundaries are. And people think they got, I'm gonna tell a true story. Therapist said, what is your boundaries? I kept saying, I got boundaries. Well, what are your boundaries? Give me a couple boundaries. I couldn't even think of 2.
Oh.
That's where I was. But you ask me now and I got a list.
Yeah.
Straight up. But I say all that to say the ducks don't know their boundary in the relationships. And they're trying to deal with all these traumatic events or give advice when advice don't need to be given. And that's what happened where the relationships are failing and now it becomes drama. Man, I can't believe duck number 1 gonna sit here and tell me da 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 da. Duck number 2 over there, I'm just trying to help duck number 1, but duck number da da da. Right, so you got all this back and forth clashing because there was never no real boundary in play. There was never no accountability of the conversation at hand and where it needed to go. So now this is where all of that drama come in and all that projecting because they taking their old friendships and trying to project it on their new friendships because there was never no boundaries put in play. I don't care what you say. You can have a good friend and you can meet somebody new, but you can't expect them to know how to deal with you if y'all ain't had that conversation.
Right.
Like you said earlier, like you said, they don't know what offends or affect them because it's a lot of projecting. Oh, this should be okay with them because we can sit and talk on the phone for an hour, so I should be able to tell Rashad, I smack you if you keep playing with, you know, and then Rashad might be on the phone like, smack who? Right? Like, but that was okay in the last relationship, right? Because that was terminology, that was lingo, right? So it's a lot of crossing of boundaries. And I think when those boundaries are crossed because they haven't been discussed properly, that's when it becomes drama, right? But it's from traumatic events that happen to them, or not even traumatic events. It's just what they're comfortable with, which is a unhealthy behavior that no one never showed them how to unlearn. And that's also how relationships become damaged too, right? You don't really see people for who they are until things start to become seasoned.
Unfold.
Yeah, like seasoned. And when it becomes seasoned, meaning y'all got a little seniority in y'all relationship and now these things are unfolding, you don't really know how to deal with it because it was never no boundary and it turns into drama, right?
Yeah. Let me, I want to pivot back to that codependency question because I kind of got a different perspective about that, right? One, I don't think there's nothing wrong with, I do think some people are healers. You know, it's an old saying that when a student is ready, the teacher will come. I do believe that it's people who, as we know, if you want to talk about religiously, if you want to talk about medically, if you want to talk about the herb, it's people that's labeled as healers.
Yeah.
And, you know, me personally, I feel like I'm one of them people. God done blessed these hands. God done blessed this voice. God done blessed this experience. So it's nothing wrong. You could use me, just don't abuse me.
Right.
Yeah.
If I'm a be here and play this role, you tell me you need X, Y, and Z from you, I'm gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
As long as you putting up a fight with me. The moment that this relationship becomes your feet is anchored in the ground, you're no longer moving, then that's when I say I'm off location and I'm gone.
Yeah.
But it's nothing wrong with anybody who is, to Shad's point, you have the qualifications of that, right? You able to be what I need you to be, and not only what a lot of times we confuse the word need and want. So not only what I want you to be, but also what I need you to be.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of times why we go to these, you know, professionals and pay for these services because it takes away the personal relationship, and we willing to accept whatever they tell us. But before it ever was a therapist, yeah, that was your mother, or that might have been your sister or your close friend before that became a profession. So a lot of these professions were taken from real roles in society. So let's not X out and forget that part of it. So I don't think nothing wrong with codependency because we are pairs. This is a community. That same word, we coexist with each other. Everything about it in the world has a code behind it. But I think the issue is people don't respect that relationship and they might siphon more than they giving. And that's when it becomes a problem because then that's when the healer feels like, I'm being drained. Hold up now. Now I don't got enough reserves for myself. Now I don't got these powers no more. Now you done Dracula, you done took everything from me.
And you understand your role as the healer. You understand that, hey, if it's exhausted me and I'm no longer able to help you out and be your co-person, then I need to move on and work on something else. But you understand that role. So that's good for you.
I think the problem with codependency is that, like, sometimes you have to be non-biased to the situation, and also I think people put other people on a pedestal that they didn't actually be put on. So then now when I tell you something that you don't want to hear, now you're upset with me. But like, you can't be upset. This is the truth, and this is what you need to hear.
And I literally, you honed it straight into this next question. Like when that codependency, like literally when that codependency starts to happen, do you all think people are creating a space for people not to hold themselves accountable to their actions, but continuously use trauma as a weapon to indulge in behaviors that they know is not healthy because that codependency don't have enough courage or strength to tell the truth, or they don't want to be not labeled as the helping hand or the healer of the friendship. So I think sometimes we let people sit in unhealthy behaviors and situations and learn things, whether it's codependency or not, and we allow them to keep using their past and the behaviors that develop because that relationship is so close and we're afraid to lose it. Like, do we see that a lot going on? Like, friends not telling friends the truth because they scared to lose the relationship, so they allow their friend just to sit there and keep using their past as an example to act an ass?
I wouldn't say me personally, I'm gonna tell you what it is, but I do see that other people do, excuse my French, but kiss ass, yes, to keep a friendship or a relationship or anything like that. And I actually just learned in class the other day that, like, it's actually a problem to be codependent because you're scared to lose someone. So now you are trauma bond or codependent, whatever you want to call it, to somebody, when you need to learn how to separate the two.
So, I got a question for you. What would you suggest? How would you suggest a friend to hold a friend accountable in a healthy manner and not allow them to keep using their past experiences or life events that happened to them to keep acting a butt or indulging in behaviors that's not healthy? How do you want them to kind of hold each other accountable for a healthy codependency friendship?
I'm gonna be honest. I think everything starts with the individual. To her point, a lot of people are afraid to hold their friends accountable because they're afraid of being alone. You already have, you don't like being alone. So when we're talking about codependency, a lot of the problem with codependency is a need is getting fulfilled by you that's not getting fulfilled anywhere else. And a need is getting fulfilled by me that's not getting filled anywhere else. And the problem is we place people as resources, sole resources for things that we should be having multiple resources for. For example, when he was talking about friendships and a lot of friends getting dismantled, a lot of friendships get dismantled because we place too many roles on one person. One person is the therapist, the brother, the confidant, the savior, they're the spiritual guidance, they're the spiritual counselor. That's a lot for one person to have to fill so many roles. And so now, when I'm not there, you're not feeling the weight of one person not there. You're feeling the weight of 5 different people not there.
Right.
And so it's magnified. So now when I step back and I say, hey, I need a break. Hey, I can't do this today. Hey, I got to check on my own self. Now we get all the rah-rah and the backlash. And now it's, oh, you're never there. And it's like, wait a minute. You're supposed to be, go get you a spiritual counselor. Go get you a confidant. Go get you a partner, right?
Right.
But yeah, and so when it comes to being codependent, you got to ask yourself, what's preventing me from being honest with my friend?
Yeah.
Why am I so afraid to tell my friend the truth?
Yeah.
Right? Am I more afraid of being alone, or am I more afraid of enabling my friend?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we choose, I'd rather have companionship than to be honest and risk my friend being mad at me. So we choose, a lot of times we choose our own desires. I mean, it looks like I'm helping my friend, but really it kind of comes from a very selfish place.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should love somebody enough to say, I'm going to tell you what you need to know
Yeah.
for the betterment of you,
Yeah.
even if I don't benefit from it. You know?
So like, why is it, like you said, 5 rows, right? And you lose them 5 rows in your life. Now all of a sudden you never there for me. It goes back to the drama part. Why is these two things so connected?
We don't do the work.
I think it's like, to your point when you say boundaries, a lot of boundaries aren't being set to even kill this codependency. And when it comes to the point of not wanting to hurt people's feelings, that's an issue too, because we should all learn to stop sugarcoating things after a while, right? When you see it's a real problem or it's a real issue, hey, bruh, you gotta put them to the side, hey, bruh. No, that ain't right. And if you want a unbiased opinion, you should never look for your friend for that, because you ain't pay them for an unbiased opinion, right? We pay therapists, or we find real healers for these things. And me, I ain't no healer, so, and you won't know when you find a healer till you find a healer,
Yeah.
because some people, you could try to fill these roles and they might make your problems worse too.
Yeah.
So that's why, as the other friend, you should set these boundaries so you aren't making shit worse, you aren't giving wrong information, and you are relieving stress on yourself as well. That's me.
Yeah. And also, I think I might have told you this privately before, or somebody at the table probably. I know my wife had heard it. I think this in adulthood period, when you become an adult, unless you have the ability and kind of like the internal drive to continue with development and continue learning and growing things like that, there's no ramifications behind you not doing it. Because now you can literally pick and choose, I want to isolate myself. I'm going to break up with you. My work is just work, so I don't got to be happy-go-lucky with you. I don't got to tell you. So the exposure of your flaws is isolated, right? And it's not until somebody comes within your circle that it's actually exposed. Well, when you're a child, that's not there, right? You have somebody in your house, somebody raised you, somebody telling you, stop, X, Y, and Z. In college, same thing, because now you're almost accepting the hierarchy of you trying to gain certain credentials and you disrespect the situation. So anyway, as an adult, the development and the work that needs to happen, a lot of times it ceases, and the work never is exposed. It's not proactive, it's reactive. It never comes up until something happens. Then you're like, oh shit, I'm not who I thought I was. And then at that point, it becomes an ego battle. Am I willing to say I was wrong? Is what this person telling me really true? Is it really accurate? Is this coming from X, Y, and Z? It's all these different ways, and the type of person that's able to intake that information, break it down, centralize it, place everything in its valid space, that takes a hell of a person to do that. And I think it's just a lot of times people don't have the capacity to do that. So then that's when you fall into codependency. That's when those two things are attached, and that's kind of how you get that situation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I genuinely agree, because like I said, I'm very honest, and I always speak from experience when we having these conversations on every episode I have, and I'm not even gonna sit here and make it seem like I was always glimmering, glamour, and gold. So I'm going to be the person at the table that say I can honestly speak and say I brought drama into situations because of my past. So I do think a lot of that was some codependency that I didn't want to lose. Wanting people to feel voice and feel holes, and a lot of that once they left, again, because they was giving me something I needed, and because also I knew what I was bringing to the table. Who are you to think you about to, die? You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't invest all this time and energy. And like you said, until it became to the forefront of really what I needed to work on, a lot of relationships was damaged. Now, I thank God, I praise God, I was able to do the work and kind of like restore some of those relationships. But I say all of those things to truly say, like, when you don't deal with your behaviors and really understand your triggers and what's bothering you, it's going to bleed across the entire board. But now I've did the work. And obviously, I'm not perfect, right? There's always work that I still have to do. But I know where to go and I know who to call. Or sometimes I don't even got to call no more because I did the homework on how to properly navigate these situations. I'm not damaging relationships because I know how to say, hey, I need space. Or I know how to articulate a conversation and not let it turn into drama because we bringing up a conversation that we see different things. So, you know, and it for example, like Mother's Day, right? Mother's Day about to come up soon. And I lost my mother.
Sorry.
I ain't about to be running around close to Mother's Day acting a butt to people, right? Because of something traumatic that happened to me when I was so young. I'm not gonna do that. Because why would I bleed on everybody else because I'm feeling like this hole that no one can replace my mom, right? It's straight up. So I shouldn't even be running around looking for that. But in the past, I used to drink so much, right? Around that time, and then I used to just argue with people all the time for no reason. But truth be told, I was just missing my mom. You know what I'm saying? But now I can kind of like see those things and acknowledge those things. And now during Mother's Day, I do my best to make sure that I'm serving other mothers and grandmothers for them to feel appreciated in my position and title and role. But I say all of that to say is when you don't deal with the emotional things that's coming up and you don't really do the work, mentally you start to develop this acceptance of what you're doing is okay. And if you don't have friends like you're a friend to those others who hold people accountable, or you don't have friends that set those boundaries, or have parents that say, hey, literally go seek help. But also, if you personally don't accept it, you're never going to grow. And then you're going to find yourself in this spiral of creating drama that's literally unnecessary because you didn't deal with the that you needed to deal with. So I'm just speaking from like that drama aspect. Like I've been on a part where I caused drama because of my traumatic events that happened to me. But also I've been on the end of the stick where people did things to me because of their drama, but I had a lot more grace for them because I understood, right, to how I feel to be in those shoes. So I say all of that to say, you know, just kind of like do that work. And like you said, a lot of people don't want to do the hard work, right? So when we don't want to do the hard work, we start to cause temper tantrums in everybody else's life, and that's not fair. You know, but doing that hard work, it's a lot because it is a lot of mental pressure.
And I remember it was a time where you were, I believe it was your mother's death date, right? Anniversary.
Yeah.
And to attest to everything you saying, like, have an example, you told us this is what's going on. You said verbatim, hey, listen, right now, I'm gonna go into the book. I need time. You communicate with us in a healthy way. You created that space for us. And like you said, that's something that's the most precious thing in this world. So I can only imagine what you was going through, but the fact that that event, you proceeded with it in a healthy manner to the best ability that you could, that event from me, I met you 6 months ago. So this is my first experience being with you on this day.
Yeah.
So my experience with you might be a whole different reaction than somebody maybe when it first happened or as you was growing up.
Yeah.
And that's just kudos to you and kind of example what we're talking about of how you proceed with when those events happen to you, bro.
I think on the like proceeding to heal yourself, notice, I think a lot of people also don't know themselves. I think people aren't taking the time to step back and be like, I'm stronger than this event that happened to me for me to push through and be better. Like how you said you did better, a lot of people don't know themselves. A lot of people don't know their strengths. A lot of people don't know their weaknesses.
Yep. So the question is like, you know, is trauma really causing pain and hurt to the people who didn't even hurt us?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Absolutely.
I want them to go with that. Cool. All right, next question.
Not even debatable. Go
Can I
ahead.
ask a question to everybody? I'm sorry. Because all of y'all seem like very self-aware individuals. And when we're talking about trauma and, you know, being on the other side of it, being self-aware, being able to communicate, I guess for anybody who wants to answer, I'm not the host, but what was that point where it clicked, where it's like, okay, like I gotta start self-evaluating. I gotta start doing inventory.
My point was when I hurt someone close to me because I reacted a certain way, like just due to past experiences and stuff like that. So once I realized that I don't want to lose this person or these people or my friends or upset my family because I'm reacting certain ways, then I'm like, I need to fix this, that, and the third.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for me, I heard God loud and clear, straight up. Either you stop or I'm gonna make you stop. And y'all probably like, oh, stop what? Alcohol. And that was like my turning point. So actually, I'm like 2.5 years sober. So yeah, that was like my turning point, because when I willfully walked with him on that cross to get rid of that alcohol, he was able now to bring everything to the forefront that I was burying. All of those behaviors, all of those mental things that I was trying to be so strong about, right? But whole time was crushing me internally. I was now able to do the work. So it's literally when I heard God's voice tell me stop or I'm gonna make you stop. And I ain't want to figure out what that was, because it might not been pretty. But that's when the real work for me to acknowledge some of my behaviors and damaged relationships and events that I went through in my life. I went and sought help. Literally went and sought help. I called, hey, I need to stop drinking alcohol. Can you all help me on that? And that's when the real work began to me to, dissect some of the things that I saw as trauma or life events, etc. So, yep.
For me, I've always been pretty self-aware, especially when it comes to like my likes and dislikes, like school. My mother here, she could attest to that. So school, I never liked school, so I didn't go to college. I can look at myself in the mirror. I look in it every day when I gotta brush my yuck mouth in the AM. So, you can see your body, so you go to the gym. When you feel like you lack it somewhere intellectually, all right, so now you pick up a book. So I've always been pretty aware of my strengths and weaknesses. I've never really hurt anybody like traumatically.
Yeah.
Or like push my trauma onto somebody, because of course if I'm self-aware, I'm aware of other people's awareness as well. So I don't like to hurt people.
Yeah.
Feel me? Hurt people, and I ain't really hurt.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm gonna point to two events because both of y'all, it's like a combination of what both of y'all said. So one, I was never the person hoping to hurt nobody else. It was always self-sabotage, hurt myself. And it was a point in time where I was going through, just graduated high school, got into some criminal trouble, and my mother, who raised me the proper way, right? When I heard her break down, crying and saying, where did I go wrong at? I'm like, damn, because that's me hurting me, but that's that connection to your mother. So anything I do to me is gonna hurt her.
Right.
So that made me aware about that instant. And then I had a scared straight moment from some shit from the other side. Some shit that, like behind the veil type shit, where I know what I seen and what I experienced, and knowing the outcome of it, it's like, boy, you better stop.
Yeah.
You better stop. And that was something for me that, the person I was with at that time, she was right there next to me. And so I knew it wasn't no dream. I wasn't lucid dreaming. I wasn't nothing like that. Woke up scared to death. And that ain't nothing that a doctor, a therapist, anybody, that don't fit in the DSM.
Right.
So and I would experience things like that, as a youth, but when I experienced that into that intensity and what I saw when I experienced, it was just like, okay, the big guy is telling you to stop. So you could keep going if you want to, and what I experienced, the end of that ain't no place I want to end up.
Right.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's like my awareness heightened even more, where, like I said, I've never been a person really to hurt nobody, nothing like that, but was really stop damaging yourself and act right, because you know better.
Right.
Act right.
Got you. I think for me, having children, bringing children into the world, and having a past that I had, I wanted to make sure I did everything to protect my kids, to make sure that nothing that I had to go through or went through that they would experience. Hopefully it was very successful. I see success in my kids, each and every one of them. But that was me. That was me being the protector, the horner. I wanted to make sure that nothing, if I could protect them and shield them, that's what I was going to do to make sure that they did never, my bleeding never went into their lives. So I'm thankful that I have them where they are today.
Absolutely.
So,
You got to answer
Yeah.
too.
For me, honestly, it was all God. I could be here all day, but my life had become, I mean, and for anybody who doesn't, I deal with post-traumatic stress disorder with dissociative features. So from trauma when I was, growing up, and I was in the space where it was kind of like, oh, it's everybody else's fault. Oh, it's everybody else's fault. This is what happened to me. Woe was me. And then there was a certain point in time where I just felt like, and God will get your attention.
absolutely.
He'll keep putting you in things to get your attention. Like, hey, pay attention to that. Hey, pay attention to that. And it got to a point where I was starting to see how my decisions were impacting and creating a certain space and environment in my life that I didn't like.
Yeah.
And he isolated me and literally stripped me everything to the point where I was like, this ain't nobody but me.
Yeah.
Like, what happened to me, that's not on me. But everything that's going on now, that's me.
Yeah.
And it's on me to fix. Because if I don't fix it, it's going to continue to get worse.
Yep.
And so for me, I started to see I was losing people. People were leaving my life. I got to a point where I wasn't even able to just mentally function in a good place. And I was like, I don't like it, because I've always been a very independent, I'm always hard on myself. I'm always,
Yeah.
And when I got to a point where I couldn't even recognize myself and my behaviors, where I'm like, it feels like I did a 180, I was like, okay, it ain't on nobody but me to fix it. And that's when I started to really look inward and do self-inventory and say, okay, what about my behaviors is causing this thing? What do I need to change about the decisions I'm making in order to stop these certain patterns from happening?
Yeah.
So that's really where it started for me.
Yeah, no, that's good bump. And actually, my next question, it was a twofold question, and part of it was, who's responsible for the healing part,
You.
right? That's one part of the question. So before I even get to like the other part, and I want people to like take some time and think about it, this is our last question, like before we wrap it up. So the first part of the question, do we all agree that it's our job or journey to actually heal,
Absolutely.
despite what happened to us?
Yep.
Correct.
Absolutely. Yep.
Victim or suspect in the situation.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Okay, we all in agreements with that. And the second question is, it's no real right or wrong answer. But what does healing look like to you? That's the last question. Take a second, really think about it. Like I always say every episode, before you just jump out there and answer the question, like really think about it. Take a couple seconds. And what do healing actually look like to you?
To me, healing looks like an almost entire 180 from what you were when you were a problem.
Yeah.
It's like when something heals, it's gonna look different than when it was hurt.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a complete different experience. And it could, you weren't always, everything about you when you were bad, everything about you wasn't bad.
Yeah.
So the things that were good about you also got better as well.
Yeah.
It also increased. That's what healing looks like to me.
Complete 180.
Yeah.
I will agree. I think it's a simple but not easy answer. I think when something heals, whatever was the disorder, the discomfort, the breakage, it's no longer there. It's fixed. So whatever needs to be fixed, it's fixed. But like Shah said, it might not be in the original way,
Yeah.
because nothing ever goes back to original form. It's always going to change. Just a little bit, unless you're talking about something different. But a lot of times it's going to look a little bit different. So I would agree.
Mine's gonna be winded, so
Okay.
at least
I think it's, for me, it's a never-ending journey because healing, you could take a path and think that that path is a straight path. It's not always going to be a straight path for you, but because you might get a cut or a scrape in the process again of your healing, but you got to know how to look at yourself and say, okay, I'm a resurface myself and keep moving. Clarity is when you see things so clear. Things no longer become redundant or hurtful to you. You now understand what that pain looks like, and you know how to re-heal from that pain. And you say, I don't want that. You know what you don't want to do. If it looks negative, it don't look good to you, it don't taste good, smell good, that's not my path. I'm gonna keep going. So for me, healing, you just understand now the clarity of what everything looks like for you. For me, that's how I see it.
Healing to me kind of looks like knowing what upset you in the first place or knowing what hurt you in the first place, accepting that you might not get the closure that you need and not reacting how you would when it first happened.
I agree with everybody's answer. I think it's a collective of everything, honestly. I think one, healing is ongoing. And I say that because as you know more, your perspective changes. It's constantly evolving. And so there may be some areas where you're like, I think I've healed. And then in 6 months, something happens where you're like, oh, I ain't hit that spot yet. Right? So I think it's ongoing. But I also think that when we look at a scar, right? You look at a scar, the scar doesn't disappear, but it's also not open. It's not getting infected, right? It's been taken care of to the point where you can see that it's there, but it's not doing no damage no more. I think that whether you're 100% healed, 30% healed, 50% healed, I think the goal is get to a point where your wound is not constantly being picked at. It's not constantly being infected, and it's not bleeding on people like we were saying, right? Can you acknowledge what happened and still say, I'm acknowledging it happened, but I'm not going to continue to allow it to affect me, to hurt me, to damage me, right? I think that's what the gist of my understanding of healing.
Let me say something real quick before you go, because she said something that reminded me of something. So to everybody's point, healing is a never-ending journey, right? When you study the body, almost all your organs, your skin, everything regenerates.
Yeah.
It's a constant cycle. Your teeth, your hair, everything always regenerates. That's the same thing with healing. And I don't think it's a limit or a roof on that, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that I always I've always been this patient person, right? I know him for like the last 3 years. And he would probably say that. But however, it's been times since me and my wife have gotten married, got together, where she like, remember you said you was patient? You ain't demonstrating that right now, right? And rightfully so. And rightfully so. Because if you wearing it like you 100%, you keep throwing it out there, you proud to wear it, well, why are you getting so irritated, Mr. Patient? Patient and irritation don't go together. So to your point, at that moment, it's like, damn, okay, well, for the last 27 years, until I was challenged, that might have been the case. Now, no, that no longer is the case. Now I need to keep working and keep going and keep doing it. Right?
Yeah, shit, women know how to push them buttons, man.
I ain't saying it's that. I'm saying it's something with me.
We about to start that war.
I think everybody
Good
pressed the
reminder.
buttons.
I was gonna leave you right there. You got 3 right here. You on your own with that one. But
Wifey.
yeah. I'm with you all. It's ongoing, but like it's gonna make sense when I say this. J. Cole said there's beauty in the struggle, right?
Absolutely.
Healing to me is a struggle, but beauty on the other side awaiting you. And like the reason why I say that, like we all use the terminology scar, right? Like right now, if I get a cut and bleed out, it's going to be a struggle, a journey to move, to operate a certain way. I can't write how I used to write. My skin don't look how it used to look, right? So all of those things are a struggle. And what I'm talking about is like, some of that struggle is me holding myself accountable, me removing myself from places, people, and things because I had relationships and bond what was causing me to be cut. But as I heal and separate myself from those things, like you said, being stripped away completely, I'm literally dying to learn how to live again.
Right.
And that is a continuous thing. Until the day I go home with the Lord Christ Jesus. That is a continuous thing. I gotta always die to live. But it's not an easy journey. But there's always beauty on the other side of it. So it's an on constant thing that I feel like it's a struggle, right? Like we war against not just amongst ourselves, but spirituality, the principalities. It's a war. Every day it's a war. It's a struggle, right? But as you knock down that barrier, you literally got beauty in the process. So that's what it is to me. Like healing is a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
But it's also could be a shitty and ugly process at the moment. And I'm just being real and authentic.
Yeah.
So
You're right.
that's what it mean to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
J. Cole hit it right on the nose to me. It's beauty, but it's struggle to get to that beauty. So like literally as we close out, I genuinely want to like thank everybody, thank my co-hosts, thank all of the guests, the camera crew,
Thank you.
the chef. I think everybody at the table deserve a round of applause. Just because it's not like an easy topic. Like I don't know, like for me, like when we talk about some of these things, I can really like picture some of those events that happened and stuff that I was going through. So, you know, to all of the therapists, the counselors, the moms, the dads, the people that help and is very supportive in the mental health field, we thank you all as well. You know, I just genuinely want to take the time and say thank you to everybody who works in the mental health field and to our viewers who's watching, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I want to tell you all too, don't be ashamed. You know, go get help if you need help. There's nothing wrong with getting help. And I genuinely wholeheartedly mean that because you are important. And in the awareness month of mental health, Place and Perspective want you to know that you are important.
Absolutely.
Your life has value. You know, what you've been through doesn't define who you are. What you've been through doesn't define where you're going. So from us all at this table today, please protect your mental health, your emotional health, and do what you need to do to take care of yourself with love.
Absolutely.
You good?